as we continue to keep it moving, guys. Shaun Holko alongside Kaz Johnson and Jaevon Toddy. So let's circle back to Thursday night because the San Francisco 49ers played in Seattle against the Seahawks, and they beat the Seahawks 36-24. Seahawks fans were riding high when they were 3-0. The 49ers were 1-2, and how that all quickly has changed. And so, Jaevon, as our resident 49ers fan on this podcast, what was your satisfaction level with this game?
We needed to win this game because it was kind of at one point in time it was going down the Niners are up double digits and they're going to give up another lead again, and that's to all of the division opponents. Against the loss against the Rams was the same way. The loss to the Cardinals is literally the exact same game. We played all three of these games the exact same way. We just happened to come out on top of the Seahawks game. The other two we ended up losing, and one of them was at home. I thought Brock played well. Deebo Samuel was making plays. George Kittle obviously had the 2 touchdowns. Was probably the best player in this game. Not named Fred Warner. I think Seattle has a really good team around. If you kind of look at their roster, they have a really good offense. They have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, I think Jackson Smith and Jigba. His usage needs to go up a little bit more. And they just got Kenneth Walker back, who's spinning on people and making all these unreal plays with the ball. Just so happens that Geno Smith is their quarterback, and that's just not going to cut it. Yeah, I get the box score at the end. Oh, Geno threw for 300 yards, but they lose by double digits. So it really just doesn't make sense. So as Shaun is writing in the air for our audio-only listeners, I think people are starting to write back on Geno. McDonald, I don't really know too much about. Is their coach good or not, because they're giving up a bunch of points on defense. But they do have some injuries on defense as well. They're missing their first round draft pick in Murphy. I do like their corners, as Cass has alluded to on many points on the show. Their corners are one of the better young corners in Witherspoon, and I'm blanking on the other corner's name.
Tariq Woolen.
Tariq Woolen. I think he was hurt in this game too. I don't think he played.
He got hurt. Yeah.
Seattle has a lot of key pieces. I just think they need a quarterback. I think there's some solid quarterbacks coming out in the draft. You got Ewers. You got Nussmeier is a guy at LSU who just won the overtime game. Is a guy that will probably start emerging. There's Cam Ward. There's obviously Shador Sanders obviously is one of those guys. Are they going to be in the mix for one of those guys? In the top 10? Maybe, maybe not. I feel like Seattle will be competitive enough to be pushing for a playoff spot, but won't be as bad to be a top 10 pick unless they trade up, as we've seen teams do in the past for a quarterback. So we'll kind of see what they are. I think it was kind of a facade when everybody in Seattle starting 3-0. They're going to be a playoff team, and this. I was like, oh, let's calm down. Let's pump the brakes. Geno Smith is still a quarterback. There's nobody who's out there that can. They got a good team, but I just think Geno. It's going to come down to Geno. They need to win games, and I don't think you can count on Geno to win you those games. They're going to put you in playoff position.
Speaking of Geno, he now has the most games with at least 40 passing attempts this season, as he's done that 4 out of 6 games for the Seahawks. And from the 49ers angle of it, Deebo Samuel had 6 touches for 116 yards and 1 touchdown. That is the most 100-yard games on the team since he was drafted. George Kittle had 5 receptions for 58 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he has now scored multiple touchdowns on the road in 3 of the last 4 matchups. And for George Kittle, it's like, hey, welcome to the party. I'm glad to know that my screen just refreshed. My Wi-Fi connection isn't the strongest, so I apologize if I just buffered, but got the thumbs up from Kaz, so I guess I'm back. And Brock Purdy, he now has 3 games with multiple passing touchdowns against the Seahawks, which is his most such games against any team. But yeah, for the last 2-3 years, I've been drafting George Kittle as my fantasy tight end on multiple teams, and he was a huge disappointment. This year, I was like, all right, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to let my bias shine through. And of course, this is the year that he decides to go off. Does have a lot to do with the CMC injury and Deebo being out a couple games, but hey man, regardless of my own selfish fantasy reasons, I'm just happy that one of the best tight ends in the NFL is looking like it again. And so the 49ers get the win 36-24 against the Seahawks, Kaz. And so from your unbiased perspective, as Jaevon starts to lean into the screen,
Hold on, Cal.
what did you?
That boy 1-4 coming back. Pearsall. Practice window just got activated. All I'm saying
Many
is,
men.
Wish death upon me. Hey man, all I'm saying is y'all better be on the lookout when you see 1-4 out there.
Oh my
on Sunday. I'm just saying, he back. Pearsall back. Y'all got to see all these other receivers. You can see Neighbors out there. You can see Brian Thomas Jr. making plays. When you see 1-4 get out there, man, I'm just saying, league better watch out.
This whole time we have been debating, or Jaevon has been debating, that Malik Neighbors is a more talented rookie wide receiver than Marvin Harrison Jr. But what he never mentioned is that Ricky Pearsall is better than all of them. But all jokes aside, Kaz, the 49ers get the job done against the Seahawks. I don't know if there was ever a must-win Week 6 game before. I never really classified it as a must-win game because we've seen the 49ers get off to slow starts before. I mean, they made it to the Super Bowl the year that they started 3-5. And so, or they at least made it to the NFC Championship game. The 49ers have had so much success in recent years, Jaevon, when it comes to winning playoff games, not finishing the job, but they advance in the playoffs, that it's all just meshing together. But anyways, Kaz, to save me from rambling, what did you think about the 49ers beating the Seahawks 36-24?
Well, first off, made some really good money. Thank God for the 3 touchdowns that I selected to add to my parlay from Brock Purdy. Posting that out on my Twitter. I like to post my big wins. So yeah, I mean, first off, I want to start off talking about Geno Smith. I like Geno Smith. I don't know why people don't like him. I don't know what you guys are seeing and thinking.
He's not good.
You're mentioning that he's his problem. Like, you're talking about Shador and Ewers coming out the draft. Like, bro, like he's putting up numbers. Like, the defense got to stop somebody. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
The numbers
I like Geno. I like the way I like his competitive fire. I think that he kind of like had like little, he take this with a grain of salt. They're definitely not the same caliber, but kind of like tonight with Aaron Rodgers, like, dude, like the guys are open. They're not making the plays. I've seen that. I mean, you got DK making having drops, hitting right in the numbers, stuff like that. I mean, that stuff factors in when you're watching the game. So what I'll say about Geno is I think that Geno, he's gained the respect from me. I don't think he's a great quarterback, but I think he fits very well in Seattle. I mean, he put up 1 million yards against the Detroit Lions, which isn't saying much, but he still put up the numbers. To put into perspective, I don't think that even my guy, Jalen Hurts, puts up numbers like that against a team like Detroit or San Fran. I really don't. So, I mean, with that being my guy, my quarterback, who I am very critical on, seeing a guy like Geno Smith go out there and put up 300-yard games like it's nothing. I mean, if you gotta look at like Justin Herbert, for instance. You know what I'm saying? Like a guy who puts up a bazillion yards a game before this season, when they turn to a run-first team. But, like, they're losing games, but he's put up a lot of yards. At some point, you got to just take a little bit of the blame off the quarterback and put it elsewhere. And I think Geno right now is a guy where I'm like, I'm not blaming Geno for these losses. Even with him throwing a couple picks here and there, I mean, he's just looking around like mouthing, what the are you guys doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, if he's saying that, clearly he doesn't strike me as a quarterback that doesn't hold himself accountable. But I mean, you see guys like Aaron Rodgers do the same thing, where it's like they do the eye roll or whatever. It's like they know that something happened that was out of their control, which is what caused that play to not work. So watching Geno Smith this year, I've been pleased with how he's been. I think that Seattle has. I actually tweeted it. I said that Seattle has a really good offense. Like it's there. They just got to win games. And, I mean, they start off 3-0, and it's not done yet. I mean, you guys still got to see them again. I mean, they're going to go ahead and probably – I'm not sure. I think they already played Arizona this year. I'm not sure. I think they did, and they won big time, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, if they haven't, I think that they sweep Arizona. I think that they sweep L.A. So, like, I think they're going to be there when it's all said and done. And if I'm not mistaken, I did pick Seattle to be my 6th seed this season to make the playoffs, the 6th seed. And I had Dallas at 7. But regardless – I like Geno. Now, as for the game, the the Niners should have won that game, and it was a must-win game for the Niners. I mean, you guys are a good team. You're well coached. It doesn't matter how you start the season off, whether you start off 2-4 or you start off, 6-0. You're a good team. Everybody knows when it comes to the NFL that it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And you guys, time and time again, finish the season well. Okay, so coming into that game, I think that even with the injuries, you guys are the better team. You guys have already proven you guys don't need CMC at running back. It's overkill. That's all it is. It's extra. It's almost equivalent to us getting rid of DeAndre Swift and getting Saquon. It's like, okay, that's nice, but we didn't need a Saquon Barkley. Well, we got him. You know what I mean? So the Niners should have won it. You guys did win the game, and I thought that the Seattle Seahawks fought well. But when it all came down to it, you got Brock Purdy, who when he's on, it's a hard team to beat because your guys' defense is gonna do what they do. So Gino had a little bit of trouble when it came to defense down the final stretch. I think he had, like I said, a couple picks, I believe it was. I know he had one for sure. But you can't. You're playing catch up against a team that has guys that can make plays. Jordan Mason went out in like the first quarter, I think it was. He was out the entire game. Then he came back to the sideline. He didn't really. I mean, they were kind of teasing him coming back, but it's like, why? Like, what? I mean, you can put anybody in that Shanahan offense, and it works out at running back. I mean, and we're also seeing now why running backs they're valued so low now because you can plug in anybody who has fresh legs. And as long as they know how to run between the tackles and protect the ball, you're good. So the Niners did really well, just adjusting to losing Jordan Mason early on. Brock Purdy was damn near perfect for the most part. I mean, not literally, but you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't making any big mistakes. Big play from Deebo Samuel, put him over 100 yards.
Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback. Thank you, sir.
What's that?
Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback.
He is. I mean, I had him in my top 10. I think I had him at 9 when I did my preseason top 10. He's for sure. He's probably got the best pocket awareness. He's definitely top up there with pocket awareness. I mean, he gets the ball out in time. He doesn't get sacked a ton. He's good. He used his legs a lot this game too, which people don't talk about that a lot. The Niners were the better team, and the better team won. But I just don't want to discredit Geno Smith and Seahawks. I don't. I think that they're going to continue to put up, 27, plus point games, and they're going to have guys like DK who are going to be streaking, having 2 or 3 touchdowns in games. You mentioned Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, they're starting to get all these guys involved. They just got to close. That's it. They got to close. And I think a big part of it is that defense. So if you allow teams to score, 25, 20, 28, 30 plus points in games, it's hard to win. It comes down to who gets the ball last for the most part, and sometimes it doesn't work out. So I think the Seahawks will be fine. You guys don't get too comfortable. I'm just saying, as Niners fans, I know you guys are starting to see the light. I'm glad to see you guys smiling and having some fun with this. But Seattle's a team that I wouldn't take lightly. If they go on another streak, another 3 or 4 game win streak, and you guys don't, that division is going to be up for grabs. So just watch out. But good win by the Niners. It was a must win, and you guys got it done.
Yeah, and Jordan Mason, he suffered that left shoulder sprain at the beginning of the second quarter, tried to come back. He came back in the second half. Kyle Shanahan told the sideline reporter, he's good, he's back, came back for one play, and then he was out again. But like Cass said, I mean, you plug in the rookie, Isaac Guerrero, in there, he's going to do fine. And so hopefully JP is all right. We're already missing the reigning, defending, undisputed. Yeah, we do need to sign a running back, just like we just signed a kicker. But the Niners are missing the reigning offensive player of the year. And so to miss an impact player like Jordan Mason, I mean, even for a 49ers team that has so many studs, they're going to miss him if he is missing. And so I'd rather have CMC and Mason dealing with injuries now because, as a 49ers fan, like, Jaevon, in all honesty, like, we're spoiled. We haven't gotten to see our team actually win it all. But for the most part, like, we're spoiled. At this point, the regular season doesn't even matter to me that much anymore. Like, I don't care. As long as they get in the playoffs, I don't really care what happens in the regular season. And it's just because, like, I'm just so numb because I've seen them win multiple playoff games and not even get the job done. And so, Kaz, the one question I did want to ask you, and I don't have the notebook right in front of me because it got left in Sacramento, so I can't verify where you had the Seahawks finishing this season. But if Geno isn't the problem, and I don't necessarily think he's the problem, but I do think that they could find a better option eventually. Right now, in the middle of the season, no, they can't find a better option. Just like the Jets couldn't find a better option right here, right now for Robert Saleh, they still did it anyways. I don't think the Seahawks could find a better solution right now. Maybe in the offseason, maybe in the draft. But Seattle has lost 3 games in a row, Kaz, and I know that you're not locked in on Seattle football, but in your opinion, like who or what is the problem in Seattle? Because obviously something's not working. They've lost 3 in a row.
I'd have to look deeper at those losses. I mean, I have my notebook over there, and I'm not gonna like step off screen and go grab it, but I'd have to look deep. I know one of the losses was against Detroit, who looks like probably a top 2 team out of the NFC. So I'm like, in a Super Bowl contender for sure. Like you got Minnesota and Detroit out of the NFC right now. Those are 2 teams that, I mean, they're having a lot of fun winning football games, and they're doing it like forcefully. So you got one of those losses coming from them. Also, it was in Detroit. You got another loss coming from, obviously, you guys who, again, you were in the Super Bowl no less than 7 months ago. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm looking at it more like that. So yeah, it is 3 games they've lost. I can't remember what was the third loss. Do you remember the third loss? You guys?
No,
Detroit.
not off the top of my head. But I mean, like you were saying though, 2 out of 3 of those losses are against the best teams in the NFC.
Yeah. I mean, like legitimately. So I'm like, yeah, Detroit, and then whoever else, doesn't matter. But regardless.
Yeah, the stinky one at home against the New York Giants.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one. Which that happens. Okay, I'm just gonna call it what it is. It happens. In New York is low key like a little bit better than what people want to admit. They have. Well, we'll talk. That doesn't matter. But regardless, what I'll say is their losses. I'm not looking at these losses like, oh, they're losing 10-38. You know, they're losing 14 and there's no touchdowns put on the board. You know, like 14, maybe like a defensive touchdown, no offensive touchdowns. Like, no, the offense is able to score. So that's when I see an offense that's able to score, I have to look at other areas and try to pick what I feel is the true reason why you're losing games. Now, I think it has a lot to do with coaching. I haven't dove super deep into Seattle football and really analyzed it. But what I'll say is if the offense is putting up numbers, Kenneth Walker, he had a couple games ago, 3 touchdown performance. You know what I'm saying? Like looking like the best running back in the league for a week. You got Geno Smith putting up multiple games over 300 yards. It's like, okay, I know other teams that are winning that aren't doing that on offense, but they're winning. I kind of look at it from that perspective. So I'm just not super critical on Geno Smith. Geno Smith is who he is, but I think that people will look at Geno Smith as a bad quarterback. I just don't. I think he's a solid quarterback. I think that it's also being proven too with all these young guys, or not young guys, but guys getting a second chance like Justin Fields and like Sam Darnold's. Like maybe every quarterback is a system quarterback. You got to be in the right system. I think that Geno's in the right system in Seattle. He just needs. It's not like he's not hitting these guys. The numbers are there. It's showing. So for me, it's not. It'd be different if he's putting up these numbers and he's averaging 2 picks a game. Then we can start talking about, okay, you're just Jameis Winston 2.0, right? That's not happening.
30 for 30.
Yeah, say that's not happening. Geno Smith is one of the top quarterbacks in the league yardage wise right now, and when in comparison to the others, a lot of quarterbacks have a good chunk of interceptions right now. So it's not like he's doing anything less than other quarterbacks that are good in the NFL right now. There's a couple, I guess, like we mentioned earlier, Josh Allen clearly doesn't have an interception, but you want to compare yards to Geno Smith? Because we can do that if you want. You see what I'm saying? So for me,
yeah, he's slinging it.
Geno Smith he's balling for Geno Smith. I don't expect Geno Smith to do what Brock Purdy's doing or what Mahomes is capable of doing because he's not even having the best season either, or even like Dak Prescott, which before this game, I mean, he has a bazillion yards already too. You know what I'm saying? So we're holding Geno to this higher standard, and it's like, why? Geno Smith is just he's either going to be a bad quarterback or a solid quarterback, and I think that he's playing solid quarterback. He's playing solid football right now. So Geno Smith, in my eyes, isn't the problem. So I'd have to say if I had to place blame, coaching, and that's me throwing that out there very loosely. I think that maybe the decision making when it comes to, the defense or, like play calling or what have you, when it matters the most, might be putting Seattle too far to reach to win these games when the offense is producing. So that's all. I'm kind of riding with Gino because from what I'm seeing, I'm like, you're not playing bad. You're not playing the best in the league, but you're playing far from bad. And that's where I'm going to just start and stop right there.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And the Giants loss, that was ugly. That was unexpected for me as a 49ers fan. I definitely did not see that coming. I thought that Seattle would bounce back from that Lions game and absolutely destroy the Giants. But I mean, the Giants, they lost last night on Sunday Night Football. They could hardly score against the Bengals. And so, like you said, it was kind of just an anomaly, and like shit happens. Everyone has those weird games. I mean, the 49ers, they have two of their losses against division opponents. They easily could have had a third. And so, just weird shit happens throughout a 17 to 18 game regular season. And